Hello and welcome to the first installment of 9 Lives of the Ure Museum's Cat's Head. In this first of the series, we'll meet the cat goddess, or rather the feline deities of ancient Egypt. Many feline species were a firm part of the Egyptian world, not only in their physical form, but also as inspiration for Egyptian art and imagination in general. Many deities, or even the king himself, took on feline characteristics, and while we admire the mighty Sphinx or the elegant cat memorials, the beautiful statues, such as the example you see here, we may sometimes miss the complexity and ambivalence the cat and felines generally had for the ancient Egyptians. So let's see more about cats and felines in ancient Egypt before we embark on the journey visiting the many faces and many lives of the Egyptian cat. Combining animal and human features as if to combine animal and human powers, that's a frequent feature of the Egyptian art, especially when it comes to depicting divine beings, or beings very close to the divine world, such as the Egyptian king, hence the Sphinx, a lion with a human head. Although we've just seen the mighty lion symbolizing the Egyptian king, and we'll see more felines, whether lions or domestic cats, symbolizing the deities, feline presence in the Egyptian imagination always had some sort of an ambivalence. The king could be a lion, but he also hunted lions. He dominated the forces of nature. He maintained order, and the predators could be seen just as well as a symbol of the sovereign as forces of chaos that he had to control and subdue. Hence the popular motif of a lion hunt, used very often by the New Kingdom kings, such as on this ostracon, a limestone flake with a sketch by an artist. However, ostraca, that's non-monumental expression of Egyptian art. Lion hunts were also memorialized in monumental art on temple walls throughout the New Kingdom between the 16th to the 12th century BC, and one of the New Kingdom kings, Amenhotep III of the 18th dynasty, even issued commemorative scarabs where he fashioned himself as an extremely successful lion hunter. So that's the powerful felines. They could also symbolize aspects of the king's personality. For instance, the king had the right to righteous anger. He could be angry as a leopard. For instance, when the country needed defense against invaders, then the angry leopard of a king sprang into action and pushed the invaders away from the Egyptian border. So again, the mighty feline here served in a slightly ambivalent role, clearly a royal animal, but also an embodiment of anger, which is an emotion highly and intensely debated in Egyptian culture. Ordinary Egyptians were definitely not expected to be angry as a leopard. Well, the question is whether they were expected to be docile as a domestic cat then. Domestic cats were a regular feature of Egyptian households. They definitely had a practical role, helping to combat the rodents, but they were also favored pets, and we see them also accompanying their owners in various festival and playful settings. The feline ambivalence and peculiar strength, however, come into the forefront in the case of the domestic cat again. A domestic cat could also be the embodiment of the sun god himself, the god Ra. The mighty tomcat of Ra is shown here slaying the symbol of chaos, a snake named Apophis. Up until now, we've seen felines accompanying humans in their domesticated form of a cat. We've also seen felines endangering humans and to be controlled by a king. And we've also seen felines as mighty symbols of gods and royalty. The ambivalence of feline power is nowhere more explicit than in the figure of the goddess Sehmet, the lioness. Sehmet is the daughter of the sun god Ra, whom we've just seen slaying Apophis, a symbol of chaos. She is the eye of Ra, and she could harm and punish as well as protect and heal. Her most famous depiction in this ambivalent role is shown in the Book of the Heavenly Cow, or Book of the Cow of Heaven. It contains a text known as the Destruction of Mankind. It's an interesting text for many reasons. For instance, in the Egyptian religious thought, there are not that many situations showing gods considering the destruction of mankind. Mankind is a divine creation, mostly to be helped and protected. Also, there is no intention of the Egyptian gods to punish the mankind by some sort of a giant flood. But there is this text, the destruction of mankind, showing that even the kind sun god Ra could decide that humankind deserved a punishment. So he sent his lioness daughter, Sehmet, to destroy humanity. But he also decided at a certain point that the punishment should not be absolute, and humanity could again get a chance to improve and survive. But Sehmet was fierce and angry, furious, and knew no limits to her power and anger. So she had to be deceived, made docile, domesticated. So the fierce lioness was deceived by her father, the sun god, by an intoxicated drink, or rather by beer colored red to pretend to be human blood. And Sehmet fell for the ploy and became completely drunk and stopped hunting people. This saved the mankind and also turned the fierce goddess into a more docile and kinder version of herself. So from the fierce lioness Sehmet, we get the kind cat Bastet, and drunkenness is a powerful symbol of the worship of both deities, of both Sehmet and Bastet. The powerful Sehmet, the lioness, placated by drunkenness, becomes her own alter ego, Bastet, the cat, the kind goddess and protectress of domesticity, health, families, festivities, and joy. And these both sides of the same feline deity, whether it's a fierce lioness or the kind cat, share drunkenness and revelry as an important element in the veneration, in the worship of the feline deities of ancient Egypt. We know from New Kingdom graffiti that Sehmet, venerated at one of the pyramid fields, Abu Sir, close to the ancient capital of Egypt, Memphis, was definitely celebrated by drunkenness, and one of the most famous descriptions in Herodotus's account of Egypt is his characterization of the pilgrimage to Bastet and the famously riotous festival marking the worship of this goddess. The popularity of both lion and cat in Egyptian art is quite understandable in the light of this importance in religion and imagination of the ancient Egyptians, and we find not only innumerable statues and objects of religious importance, but also the motif of cat and lion is used very frequently in Egyptian jewelry. Egyptian elites used this motif very frequently throughout Egyptian history, as is also shown by this example from the Middle Kingdom, from the tomb of Princess Sidhat-hor-Unat. The sophisticated jewelry was a prerogative of the Egyptian elites, but simpler faience amulets such as these were produced for everybody. We know the faience amulets in shape of both Sehmet and Bastet, and also other feline deities such as the goddess Pachet, particularly from the New Kingdom and the late period or the first millennium BC. It is of course a matter of preservation. Such amulets were probably produced throughout Egyptian history. However, it is also likely that the popularity of the cults of Sehmet and Bastet was growing, and we know that these deities were assimilated with other very powerful female divine beings of ancient Egypt. For instance, Sehmet and Bastet were identified with the goddess Mut, the wife of the god Amun, the dynastic god of most royal families of the New Kingdom. So these deities were always there, always important throughout the ancient Egyptian history. But it seems that in the New Kingdom and in the late period, the production of the works of art, as well of these more humble amulets, was particularly strong and growing. In the production of humble faience amulets, even the motif of the Sphinx was recreated, this time using a cat body and a human head. To conclude, felines accompanied the Egyptians throughout their life and even in death. They accompanied them in the domestic space and in the religious world as an embodiment of powerful deities. Especially in late period Egypt, sacred animals cult and even a peculiar form of farming of sacrificial animals, such as cats for Bastet, were particularly well developed. And as you will see and hear in the next couple of installments, cat mummies became a part of practice of veneration of Bastet, and there will be much more to come on this topic. The tradition of venerating feline deities was especially strong in the region of Memphis, one of the capitals of ancient Egypt, from Sehmet of Sahara to the late period Bastet of Bubastea. Bastet and Sehmet and other feline deities fired Egyptian imagination, and indeed they were to fire human imagination for centuries and millennia to come. Even in the 20th and 21st century, together with Anubis, Sehmet and Bastet are a popular embodiment of ancient Egypt. Indeed, from graphic novels to science fiction books, Bastet, slightly mysterious, potentially dangerous, but also kind and enchanting goddess, is a potent, powerful representative of the ancient Egyptian world. In the oncoming installments of our series, we will guide you further in the lives of the Egyptian magical cats.